It's the Late Show on Manx Radio, Thursday night, and we're off to the moon. Howard Parkin is here, hot foot from Foxton.
Oh, dear me. That was a hairy journey.
That was some bicycle you rode.
It certainly was, Andy, I tell you.
It was night 2 tonight of the Dark Skies at Foxdale. How was it all?
Fantastic. We had a great time. We had about 40 people there again tonight. Twice. We had 80 people there because they come in two blocks. And we gave them a bit of a talk about what the Dark Skies is all about, why the Alaman is so great, and what we've got all this stuff. And then we took them outside. We could see the moon through the clouds just about, but it wasn't particularly brilliant. Last night was better. The first group last night really got to see some of the stars as well. But the weather's not brilliant at the moment. But hey, that's astronomy for you.
How long has that observatory been there?
It was built in 1999-2000, opened for our first meeting on January, the first meeting in January in 2002.
Fantastic.
So,
what's about in the winter sky at the minute then?
Well, there's a lot going on in the night sky at the moment, and there's a lot more to come. But the big news this month, of course, is next Wednesday we have a full moon.
Ooh.
And this full moon is blue, it's blood red, it's eclipsed, and it's also the full snow moon.
Sounds a bit.
And just to finish it off, it's a super moon as well.
Sounds a bit confused to me. It's all things in one. It's red, blue.
It's red, blue, super, eclipsed, and full snow.
Crikey!
All at once.
Blimey, what are the chances of that?
Every 19 years.
Oh, I see.
Not that rare.
Explain to me then. Go through.
Right. Well,
red means what?
Red means it's eclipsed. Now, not from the Isle of Man. Don't rush outside and look for this beautiful blood red moon, because it won't be blood red. It's going to be a total eclipse visible from the Pacific coast of the United States and Asia and places like that. But it is eclipsed. That's the main thing. So therefore, it will turn red as the Earth's shadow, the red light is refracted more. It will turn bright red. So it's a blood red moon. But when you get 2 full moons in a month, the second one is always called a blue moon. But if you live in Australia, it isn't, because it's not going to be full until the 1st of February in Australia. So it's not a blue moon if you live in Australia.
Right.
Are you with me so far?
Keep going, keep going.
It's also a supermoon, because when a moon is at apogee, which means nearest to the Earth, within 90 degrees of apogee and full, it's termed a supermoon.
Right.
This wonderful description was given by an astrologer, excuse me for swearing, a few years ago now, and it's stuck. And whilst we've all objected to it for many, many months and years, astronomers, we've now given up, because basically if it gets people out looking at the moon, it's got to be a good thing.
Right, okay.
So it's super, it's blue, it's red, and it's eclipsed.
Right.
And it's also, the first full moon of February is always called it is called the full snow moon.
Right.
But because it's not happening in February, there is no full moon in February, it's been officially, I say officially, unofficially moved to the one in January.
Okay, so when is it next?
The next full moon is until the 1st of March.
Yeah, but this is happening when next week?
Next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Oh, it's the first?
Yeah, first on Thursday, which is why we're here today instead of next week.
Ah, that's right.
You see, there is a plan. There is a plan. We do have a plan.
Well hidden, but you know.
We have to look it up every now and then, don't we?
Okay, so what else is knocking around the sky?
Well, the other thing that's visible at the moment, in the morning sky, we have the brilliant, bright planet Jupiter, and not far from it, we've got the much fainter but redder Mars. Now, this year, we've got a phenomenon which is taking place. When a planet is in the opposite part of the sun to the opposite part of the sky to the sun, it's called opposition. And we've got Jupiter at opposition in May, we've got Saturn at opposition in June, and then we've got Mars at opposition in July, which means they're going to be very easy to spot, very bright and very prominent in our skies at midnight and all night, in fact, along. And then just to cap it all, Venus, which is currently not visible, it's just gone around the back of the sun in what we call superior conjunction on the 9th of January. That is going to be emerging in the evening sky in the next few weeks, mid-February onwards, and it's going to get higher and higher and higher. And it will be like a beacon in the sky over Peel on the 17th of August, when it's at its maximum distance from the sun. So
let's just go back to Jupiter, Saturn and Mars. Whereabouts in the sky will they be?
Due south. Due south. At the moment, Mars and Jupiter are in the morning sky, not visible till about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, but Jupiter's very bright, very easy to see. But the others, Saturn is going to be very low, even when it's at its best in in June. It's still going to be very low and difficult to spot. But Mars, Jupiter and Venus are going to be very dominant in our skies, and we'll talk about that, obviously, as we go through some of the other shows later in the year. Okay,
I'm just trying to get that back. Super blue, blood eclipsed and full snow.
Correct.
There's a joke in there somewhere. I haven't a clue.
Answers on a postcard.
Thank you.
On the back of a £5 note, sorry.
Thank you. Now, one of your heroes has departed.
Yeah, I think of all the heroes I've got of the space age, this one was really my hero. Fantastic bloke. John Young died on the 5th of January. Amazing character. Flew twice on Gemini, he flew twice on the Apollo missions, and he flew twice on the space shuttle.
Okay.
And
Gemini was after Mercury.
yes, Gemini was one. Mercury was one man.
Yeah.
Gemini was two man.
And then came
Then
Apollo.
Apollo with three
Right.
men, and then the shuttle.
And the Gemini people, well, all those early astronauts were pioneers.
Absolutely, all had the right stuff, as they say. The Mercury and the original Gemini 12 they had were all absolute pioneers. But there's a lovely story about John Young, because he actually flew on the very first Gemini mission with Virgil Gus Grissom, who was sadly to die in the Apollo 1 fire. But they were launched on Gemini 3. The first ever Gemini two-man mission. And Wally Schirra, who was another one of the characters of the space age, gave something to John Young just before he launched. So they're up there in their little tiny capsule with two seats side by side, Gus Grissom's commander and John Young as pilot. And Gus allegedly said something like, "Gee, I'm hungry. I could do with some of this proper food instead of this paste they give us," because they have this toothpaste full of food. And John Young reached into his pocket in his trouser leg, pulled out a corned beef sandwich, handed it to Gus Grissom, who said, "Where do you get that from?" Took a bite, and of course the crumbs went everywhere. And of course they were in trouble then, deep trouble then, because they'd contaminated the spacecraft and they could have affected the electronic systems.
Yeah.
There was a Senate hearing about this misdemeanor sometime after they came back, and John Young later said in his book Forever Young, which is his autobiography, he said, "You know, standing before that Senate committee talking about my corned beef sandwich was worse than being launched on the top of a Saturn V rocket." Amazing character.
Those early guys have always fascinated me because they were military, obviously.
Oh, they were all military test pilots.
Military test pilots, and they flew. And in the early days, nobody quite knew what was going to happen.
They hadn't a clue. There was so much. They were literally sitting on top of a rocket. Let's be honest with you, sitting on top
tons
of a
and
fire,
tons of
explosive fuel, all built by the lowest bidder.
Yes.
Amazing stuff. But John Young also had a famous claim to fame, which no one ever really disputed. The most any one individual has gone into space is 7 times. John Young claimed 8. He went on 2 Geminis, Gemini 3 and 10. He went on Apollo 10 and Apollo, I forgot my number, 16, Apollo 16. And he also did the shuttles STS-1 and STS-11. And he claimed he'd been launched 8 times, because when he went to the moon, well, on Apollo 10, they sent the lunar module down, didn't quite land, but then they took off the ascent stage, launched from the descent stage. So that was launch number 7, or was to be number 7 in the end. And the other one was he took off from the moon on Apollo 16 with Charlie Duke. That was his other launch. So he was launched into space 8 times, although officially he's only down as 6.
Giant steps are what you take walking on the moon. So how many times was John? He was on the moon how many times?
Just the once. He went to the moon twice, though. He went on Apollo 10. He also went there on Apollo 16, of course, and landed as the commander. He was the penultimate commander to go to the moon before the final mission in Apollo 17, which was in December 1972.
Wow.
Very sad. But, you know, if you go to Florida now, and lots of people in the Isle of Man go to Florida on holiday, quite often you'll end up on a road called the John Young Parkway.
Oh, where is it?
That's in Florida. It runs right through Orlando.
Wow.
It's one of the main thoroughfares. He was an Orlando boy, and they honoured him with this long before he died. It was named after him, I think, after the first shuttle mission.
Right.
He actually flew not only in the first Gemini, but he also flew in the first shuttle mission.
Imagine spanning all that.
Absolutely. 46 years he worked for NASA. He was head of the astronaut office, and he got moved sideways because after the Challenger disaster in 1986, he was very critical of the management systems they had in NASA, and he was the head of the astronaut office. He allocated the crews to the missions, and he was moved sideways to a special office.
Nice to know there's politics everywhere, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Right, you were talking
hero.
all this week. It's tonight and last night. It was the 2 nights at the Foxdale Observatory.
Indeed.
Just tell us about Dark Skies Week. What's it all
Well,
about?
basically, this was something that was the government asked to do, because we've got this 2018 year, a special year to live in the island and everything else, and this started months ago. They wanted to do this, and instead of having just one event, they want to have a series of events throughout the year. And I was delighted when they asked me what we thought about the idea of having Dark Skies as a theme for this first event. So what we did, the Astronomical Society were having an event at Onken Park, courtesy of Onken Commissioners, in last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which went very well indeed. We had 3 nights where we could actually see stars and everything else. I wasn't there, sadly, I was away, but that went well as a start off. But the first official event was at the Villa Marina last Monday, when we had the launch, and the Chief Minister were there, and lots of ministers were there, and there was a presentation done about the whole idea, and this linking to the biosphere, of course, which is a great accolade that the island has got. And there's moves afoot, or there's a possibility of linking what we call the Starlight Initiative, which is a UNESCO challenge, which the Isle of Man could be involved with, which is something that may happen in the next few months, I'm hoping. But then we've had the 2 nights at the observatory, whereby invited guests could come along, and they had to buy a ticket because they had to manage it, of course. We had Wednesday and Thursday night at the observatory. We also had a series of talks for the schools yesterday at the Manx Museum. Had about 400 school children at the Manx Museum on Wednesday morning and Wednesday afternoon, when I gave them a talk about our place in space, which was a series of talks I gave. Then we've got the 2 things at the observatory. The last one, as I say, we've just done tonight. And then on Friday, we've got a bit of a day off. And then on Saturday, we've got a night at the Dome. And we've got some speakers coming along to the Dome. Adrian Bell's Dome, which is this facility, this 360 degree...
Oh, at the nunnery.
At the nunnery.
Yeah.
That's going to be the final event. It's taking place there on Saturday night.
So what is the future for dark skies tourism for the island?
Well, we've got 26 dark sky discovery sites on the island. I make no secret of it. We need to go to the next step. We need to get formal recognition for this. There are now 11 places in the British Isles that have got internationally acclaimed dark sky status.
Right.
There is about to become a 12th. Anglesey have applied for it.
Right. But we don't.
We don't. We don't have international dark sky discovery status, which is protected by planning and legislation and all the rest. We need to do that.
And who do you apply to?
It's the government. The government have got to see the financial... There's a cost involved. Obviously, there's a cost in making this application. It takes about 18 months to apply to do it. And I see that as the next step forward. But obviously, until
we're certified, we're not real in terms of
basically. And anybody can put anything up on the island near a dark sky site, and the normal planning regulations would apply. But if it was an official dark sky, internationally acclaimed dark sky site, then planning legislation would prohibit the building of something that would affect the light of that area.
Realistically, then, what will dark skies tourism and certification do for the island?
It would enhance the island as an astronomy destination. Nowadays, it's all about niche tourism. It's all about, and I'm not blind or deaf to the fact that there are lots of niches. The TT is a very big niche.
Yeah.
Astronomy is a small niche, as is sea kayaking.
Vintage
transport, going to the theatre, the Gaiety Theatre, one of the best theatres in the world.
Frank Matcham,
absolutely, brilliant place. All these little niche tourism things all come together. So somebody can come to the Isle of Man. I've made this claim before, that you can come to the Isle of Man with your telescope or just your binoculars, and you can go to the theatre, you can go out for a meal, you can go for a hill walk, go kayaking, and at night time you can go to one of the dark sky places.
Funny, and also every night I come to the radio station, when I leave after 1 o'clock in the morning, I look down and the camera obscura is lit, almost like a film set.
Yeah.
And there aren't many of those around the world, and we have it. And of course, half a mile away is a dark sky site on Marine Drive.
Just round Marine Drive, which is absolutely stunning. I've just been to La Palma in the Canary Islands, and La Palma is one of the world's best observatories. They've got 12 observatories on the top of the hill there in La Palma, and they push their astro-tourism. There's T-shirts, there's mugs, there's everything. They really promote their dark skies tourism.
Yes.
We could do far more if we've got the political will to do it.
Sounds like a light under a bushel, Howard.
It does really, but I'm not complaining. I'm delighted we've done this thing. We're getting there, slowly but surely. There's more and more interest in it. And what fascinates me is when I'm away on one of my trips and people say to me, you say from the Isle of Man, isn't that the place with the fantastic dark skies? And I kid you not, I may have mentioned this before, Ayers Rock, Australia. Someone from Hong Kong said to me, oh, isn't that the place with the dark skies? And I nearly fell off my seat. It wasn't the Bundaberg rum that made me fall off, honest.
Tell me about the Orion star count.
Yes, well, that's something we're doing as part of the Dark Skies Initiative this week. As part of it, we're asking people to go outside between now and the end of January, so you've only got a week to do it. Look at the main 4 stars in the constellation of Orion. Forget his belt, the 3 stars in the middle, don't worry about them. The 4 stars at each corner. In your mind, draw a square or a rectangle round them, and then count how many stars you can see.
Within the square?
Within the rectangle. There will be 3, the 3 stars of his belt to start with. But Don't do it straight away. Don't go outside and look at it and think, oh, I can only see 3. Let your eyes get attuned to the dark. And the best time to do this is probably going to be towards the end of next week, Tuesday or Wednesday next week, when the moon has gone past. At the moment it's in Taurus, then it's in Gemini, and it's going to move round. So do it about 9, 10 o'clock next Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Get your eyes attuned to the dark and see how many stars you can count. And then send the information to the info@biospherevannin.im. It's on the back of all the leaflets that the department, the Cabinet Office have been issuing. So It's an opportunity for us to show how good our skies are, and maybe this is something else that will give us another foot in the door to going for international accreditation.
Okay. Now, this is Howard Parkin, by the way, and every month he comes onto the Late Show and clues us in about what's happening above us and around us and the sky at night. Now, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, Howard... You're a fast-moving object, so how do we get hold of you?
Well, you can email me on howardparkin@manx.net. Happy to take emails. I'm on Facebook. There's also the Astronomy Society webpage and iomastronomy.org. There's Facebook, my own Astro Manx site. There's Dark Skies Isle of Man website. There's the astronomy website. There's all sorts of stuff.
You'll be there all night.
Absolutely.
Oh, and briefly, you wanted to talk about, was it the ISS?
ISS, yes. Just at the moment, the ISS, we're talking about the space shuttle before, which of course was responsible for building the ISS. Well, at the moment, the ISS is visible in our evening skies. Now, it's visible from tomorrow night onwards, but tomorrow night it's a very low pass, only 10 degrees. But next week, from about the 29th onwards, it's visible. And I'm looking the times up here at 8:05, at 7:10, 7:15, 6:20, 4 minutes to 7. Easy to get this information from the heavensabove.com website. But one of the best passes I can tell you about is on the 1st of February, a week tonight, at 7:06. It'll be 51 degrees south, due south, exactly 7:06, a week tonight. So look out for that. Most impressive. If it's not cloudy and you get to see it, there's 6 people up there. And of course, one of them, well, not one now, but Nicole Stott, our own Manx astronaut, she was up there for 3 months many years ago now. And it's just great to look at that and realise that that's what the people today with the right stuff, like John Young had, they're up there today looking down on us. And it's just a fantastic subject.
Stay warm, stay dry, stay looking at the sky.
Keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the sky.
We'll see you next month, Howard.
Thanks, Andy.